We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
Jeremy, this is your first trip to ISE in a number of years, including the first one in Barcelona. You and I used to go to the one in Amsterdam quite a bit. What's your impression of your first time here?
I love Barcelona. This convention hall is fantastic. I think it's almost laid out better than Infocom. Yeah. Don't tell Mr. Lebuscus I said that.
Know nothing.
How'd you find out about that?
Oh, I have my ways.
How long has that been there?
Coming to you from ISE 2025 in Barcelona, we gathered some really great AV professionals to get their take on this year's show and what they're looking forward to next year. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 704, recorded Friday, February 7th, 2025. ISE 2025, part 2. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of all the biggest news and information from the AV world. I look in a different spot. I sound different because we're still in Barcelona. Still in Barcelona. Anyhow, this is part 2 of ISE 2025. Jennifer Weaver is here, as well as Steve Greenblatt. How are you both?
Doing well. Thank you.
Doing great.
Good. Two of our fantastic podcast hosts. We'll get to that in a second. Jennifer, we'll start with you on this. One of the things I just keep asking folks just to get different perspective. What was your experience at ISE like this year?
So this is my first time at ISE. Okay. So it's completely different. Very overwhelming with all of the halls. What I found is interesting, there's so many different manufacturers that are here that we don't see in the States. Yeah. So the hard part was trying to decipher who you can use in the States, who you can't use in the States, but it's massive. And it was a wonderful experience, but just very overwhelming to be here for the first time.
All right, Steve?
It's a great show. I mean, we go to the show for 5 years or so now, and it's to me it's a can't miss. The conversations are great. The time that you get to spend with manufacturers are great. 4 days is needed because of how big it is, but you have to be strategic. It is a big show, and it is something that you have to make sure that you factor in commute time, but really good conversations. A lot of people looking to talk about how their products work with others, which is what we help manufacturers do.
Yeah, just to kind of define this, there are 8 halls at the FIRA that the ISE is using, right? It is, I've equated it, this is not a one-to-one, equated it to Infocom in Orlando, where it is one continuous hall. It's not, but that's the best kind of example I've got, because in Vegas they split it between 2 separate halls, but they are massive halls, one after the other. And you guys are right, you've got to plan out the commute time Steve is talking about, because if you're going even from hall 2 to hall 3, it's going to take you a minute.
And you don't want to book any type of meetings or do your schedule of manufacturers that you want to visit like that. So you can't go from hall to hall to hall, because you're tired and you're walking and you'll miss things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of people here. So there were traffic jams.
So one of the things is what was your feeling about the show itself? Not just your experience, but like in the first episode, Jason Ward from the UK used the term buzz, right? And I'll steal that from him. But what was your feeling, the energy of the week?
I think it was positive. Every time we showed up at a meeting, we weren't really sure what we were going to get. And it usually was a pleasant surprise. We were welcomed, and there was usually something to talk about. It wasn't just checking a box saying, I met with these people, I scanned badges. We usually had a purpose for a meeting, and sometimes it was something that was unexpected, which was really great.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I noticed that too. There's even though there's so many halls, they're full with people. And when you're going into the booth, like Steve said, it's not the check the box, let me walk you around and show you everything. They really are embracing you coming in, wanting to talk to you, and getting that perspective of what you do, what's your line of work, showing you the product that's going to fit with what you're doing, and not just that full scheduled booth tour like we see when we're at Infocom.
The first episode, I had 3 folks from the UK. right? European, and don't throw things at me. I know there's an argument about whether or not the UK is Europe. I'm a big dumb American. It's Europe, right? It's just, it's fine.
Right.
This episode is nothing but Americans. And I didn't do it on purpose, just for the record. But now that we're talking and I'm realizing that, something that Joe Way said in the last episode, he said he's hearing more and more American accents. And I would agree with that. Steve, as an American, AV business person, why do you come here?
Well, the quality of the engagement is great, and for us, all of the people that we work with are here.
Okay.
So that's why we have to be here. So if we were to do this back home, we'd have to at least go to 2 shows to accomplish what we can accomplish in 1. Okay. So that to me is we're sold.
Yeah.
Plus it's the value, I think the fact that they welcome the Americans to come, and the people that we want to meet with, they have time for us because we're a smaller percentage of the attendees.
Yeah. Jennifer?
That's to going with Steve's point, that the Americans here are a smaller percentage. So when you are going, you are getting that quality time. You are getting the ability to speak, whether it's your rep or not. You're talking to somebody that you're going to be able to get the information from. And what I've noticed too, the booths are so massive, and there's more areas to sit in them, to have conversations and to have
Blessedly,
meetings.
there's more places to sit.
Thank goodness. But you don't see that when we get to InfoComm. There might be small little high top tables, but the booths want to be product focused, which is great. But here it's conversation focused, it seems, which is, I think, sometimes more meaningful than it is to understand, the specs of a product. We can all see it, read a spec sheet, understand it. But the conversation of how to utilize it and work it's amazing. And yes, I've noticed a lot more Americans, which I was thoroughly surprised with this being my first time. So you can pick up right away who's from the U.S. and who's not from the U.S. I
actually ran into a rep firm for a manufacturer that I know. She's out of Chicago, and I was like, okay, this is just because I'm horribly curious, right, to my own detriment. Well, why are you here? And she said the very same thing: is I can have longer conversations. She goes, plus my clients are here, so integrators from the States, big and small, are also coming to the show, and so she's coming to have those longer, deeper conversations with her clients.
Yes.
Yeah. Steve, overarching, pick technology, pick anything, but what are you taking away from this show?
Manufacturers are trying to make products easier for programmers, and that's what I like to hear. So
you're making Steve happy. Okay.
Yeah, there's more and more conversations about it. They said this stands in our way. If a programmer can't make our stuff work, that halts progress and holds up sales. So we help to make that happen, and I like to have those conversations.
All right, Jennifer?
I was out here, like I said, on a completely different realm, but what I've learned is that everybody is just very welcoming, that the manufacturers, you can find other people to talk to, because sometimes your rep might not know everything, but it's just great. It was amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
How do people connect with you?
So I am on LinkedIn, Jennifer Weaver. I am also on Twitter, jweaver319, and I am also part of AVNation Media, and I have my podcast, AV Career Mastermind.
All right. Show them your shoes. Can they see your shoes yet?
And
right,
now,
show the shoes.
Here's my, if I can get my foot up pretty high. And I've got my purple sneaks on.
Yeah. You and Neto, sneakerheads. All right. Mr. Greenblatt.
Steve Greenblatt on social media. Control Concepts is at controlconcepts.net. Podcasts are State of Control on avnation.tv, and Ask the Programmer, and love to have these conversations.
All right, part 2, Aaron Mary Moran, Mr. Caldera, Jeremy Caldera. How are you guys?
I'm excellent.
Good. Your voice is almost there, dude.
Almost. It's almost there. And that's always the downside of doing these recordings on the Friday.
It is.
Of a trade show.
Trade show voice.
By this time of the week, it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is Friday. The reason we do it on Friday is so we can experience the show for 3 days. So Aaron, you are Johns Hopkins University. You're also here with HETMA. So how was the week? How was the show?
Oh, I mean, it's been amazing. From a HETMA perspective, we've gotten to kind of learn a bit more about how some universities work over here and meet some new people and trying to kind of spread the love that is HETMA, and it's been really good.
from an organization like HETMA trying to get into and expand the market outside of North America, what are some of the things, because we had Joe on the last episode, he talked about cultural differences, but what other areas that are you guys learning that you're able to make adjustments to and continue that reach out?
Yeah, I mean, besides the obvious one, language barrier, there's also just terminologies. We realized that there is nowhere in our booth signage that says university, because higher ed here means something different. I think it's more high school is considered higher education. So we're like, okay, now we know we need to definitely use the word university more. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's been all right. And we'll make adjustments. But it's also the badges. Yeah. Trying to just figure out who is at a university, because they're all named differently or use their abbreviations, and we're like, oh, that's a university, great. Yeah. So I think we'll have to do a little more studying up going into these events, and maybe see like just what are the names of the schools. Yeah. And then we're able to key in on those. Okay.
Jeremy, this is your first trip to ISE in a number of years, including the first one in Barcelona. You and I used to go to the one in Amsterdam quite a bit. What's your impression of your first time here?
I love Barcelona. This convention hall is fantastic. I think it's almost laid out better than InfoComm. Yeah. Don't tell Mr. Lebuscus I said that. But it's I think the layout's very good. I like the way that they have everything grouped together. It's very easy to find your way around, for considering how massive and huge this place is. But yeah, I've been able to quickly navigate, get to the places I want to see, and kind of move on very quickly. So loving it here, and the city's great. So.
Yeah, it is. Aaron, one of the common themes throughout these conversations we've had today is the feeling, the energy. I think Jason Ward used the word buzz. How would you quantify that for this week?
Yeah, it's been, I feel like last year was great, but this year there was even, I feel like, a little extra magic, just especially going through Hall 3 was it was almost impossible. Like I tried avoiding it as much as possible, because there was so much going on, and just such a feeling of people and everything. And I actually made a social media post in the one day that this is the first technical trade show I've ever been to where I actually had to wait in line at the ladies' room, because usually there's hardly any women around, so it's easy to fly in, fly out, and I'm good to go. But I was like, wow, this is the first time I've had that problem ever. So I'm like, excellent. It means that more women are coming to these things and getting involved in the AV space. So that's exciting to me. Yeah,
we talked to Ifat and Tanya Houston, who together put on the Ethics of Women's meetup. And that included a speed dating session where they both got to connect with various women throughout the world.
Yeah, that was a great idea to make sure that we are kind of getting out of our comfort zone, because it's easy to show up to those meetups, but gravitate automatically to the people you already know. So it was good to be encouraged to be like, okay, it's been a couple minutes, go move around, talk to somebody else. And so I did get to meet like a bunch of other women in the industry that I've never met before. Yeah.
Jeremy, one of the things that kind of this show has become is a global show, right? It is, and we'll talk about the Americans here in a second. But AVNation and our friends at Rave and AV Buyers Club, we did a tech tour yesterday for end users, right? We had people from Malta, we had people from Egypt, from here in Barcelona, and from 2 or 3 other places throughout the world. None of them were Americans, just for the record, which was fantastic, I thought. But why do you think, again, as somebody who has been to this show multiple times, first in Amsterdam, now here, why do you think it has evolved into that?
I think it's just a great collaboration space. Europe, that is, right? It's a great central location for everybody to come to. Sometimes, even getting to the United States in the middle of June can be difficult. So there's a lot, I've seen a lot of people from the United States that I know here, which is great, more so than even in years past. And I think there's a lot to be said for coming to this show versus just going to InfoComm, right? And for me, there's a lot of new product launches that happen here now as opposed to happen in June at InfoComm. So being able to see and touch and feel some of the latest and greatest technologies is also what's bringing not just the US, but everybody else, I think, to this central location. So.
All right. You kind of asked the very next question, which is why do you come as an American? Aaron, why do you come as an American?
Yeah, I mean, well, this year's a little bit different because I came specifically with the purpose of, HETMA expanding into a more global space. But I think for other technology managers at universities, it's that like the introduction of the products sooner, especially since how our budget cycles work for universities. We have to have our projects planned by the time InfoComm rolls around. So it's nice to then be able to touch and feel things and demo them now. So we can put them into our projects that we'll be doing in the summertime.
Makes sense.
I'm seeing more end users here as well, even from the United States. So that's kind of interesting. We talked about that at InfoComm years ago, how there's more and more end users coming to the show. And I think I'm starting to see that a little bit here as well, even from the United States.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Aaron, as we wrap up here, what's something you're taking away from this week, whether it's technology or just kind of a feeling?
Yeah, I'm one of the things that I've been most interested in looking at this show was the immersive experiences.
Okay.
Because that, I think, is really going to be the next big thing for higher education and universities. Like the more being able to teach in a space that puts you into a situation way more than just sitting in a classroom with 4 blank walls.
Jeremy?
It's not just the technology for me, it's some of the talks and keynotes that are happening. So I like to get into the weeds of the buzzwords, right?
Yep.
You can talk about AI and stuff like that all day long, but actually hearing how we're going to be implementing that within the industry in the coming years, I think is key. And then another thing too that I'm excited about is I think the outlook is good for the AV industry still for the next, at least several years.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's very encouraging. So.
Very good. And Mary Moran, how do people connect with you?
Yep, you can find me on LinkedIn, on X at Smearin_off_ice, or on the HETMA community, and each month on the EdTech podcast on AVNation.tv.
Including one from ISE. So, Mr. Caldera?
You can get our companies, pearltechnology.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, the Facebook, all that stuff as well. So.
All right, very good. For me, for tomorrow, don't follow me anywhere. If you're interested in what I write about other than AV, you can go look at that on LinkedIn. But go by the website if you would, please, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others, including Aaron's EdTech program. Also, while you're there, you can check out more footage from ISE 2025. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is Erin Marmoran of EdTech. The world of higher ed AV is growing rapidly. That's why each month we hear from the best and brightest from colleges and universities all over the U.S. Check out EdTech on avnation.tv or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.